What do the elections hold for the nation's peace come 2023? My name is Samuel Wise-Bangura, and this is AYV on Sunday. Hi, good evening, and a very warm welcome to AYV on Sunday. Today we're discussing the status of Sierra Leone's peace ahead of the 2023 general elections. Here with me, I have a star-studded panel to help me unpack the conversation for the next 2 hours. I have Thomas Dixon, who is a journalist and a social commentator. Thomas, good evening and welcome to AYV on Sunday.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Right, I have Alfred Minkailu Kroma, a member of the All People's Congress Party. Alfred, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
All right, we await the arrival of Wusu Dadida Jallo from the Strategic Communications Unit, Ministry of Information and Communications. He doubles as the mouthpiece of SLPP for the Northern region. And we're also expecting a representative from Sierra Leone's Peace Commission to join the conversation. But to you watching and listening or following us on all our different social media platforms, you're welcome, and you can be part of the conversation, especially those of you on Facebook, the AYV News Facebook page. Drop your comments, drop your questions. We can always go through some of them in the program. But let me start off with the two gentlemen who are in the studio. Thomas, I'm going to start off with you for obvious reasons. I mean, looking at putting Sierra Leone's peace into context, the experts have submitted to us that what we are enjoying is a negative peace, and that peace is deteriorating in the sense that in 2021, we were ranked third most peaceful in the West African region. And now we're being ranked fourth, which according to many, we have so many factors responsible for that. But I just went through what Andrew Kiley wrote in one of his articles, Ponder My Thoughts, that deals with Sierra Leone's polarization. If you are to put Sierra Leone's peace into context, what color would you paint it with?
I think when you don't discuss peace in isolation, there are several factors that contribute to peace, and there are several factors that contribute to the deterioration of peace or a nation of a nation slipping into conflict. And looking at Sierra Leone presently, I must say that there is peace relatively, and but we have serious threat to the peace because first of all, the things that led Sierra Leone into 11 years rebel war are still existing. We have massive youth unemployment. We have state institution being hijacked by the state. We have violent young people being used as tools for power struggle. We have huge corruption still existing. And as time progresses, we will go into some of the things that I have highlighted. But I think as a state, it is always incumbent on the government to ensure that there is peace. And I want to start my statement by reading from the foreword of the New Direction Manifesto. I will read an excerpt of it in page 5, wherein the president, as a presidential candidate, said, and this foreword is written by the president himself, signed and written by retired Brigadier Julius Madabiu. He said, and I quote, "I promise a new direction for Sierra Leone as a united, peaceful, progressive, dynamic, confident, enterprising, and happy nation, where the people have unlimited access to jobs, food, education, and health services, and where there is equal justice and equal opportunity for all. We must transform Sierra Leone into a middle-income country of the 21st century." I want us to pay keen attention to the words united, peaceful, and progressive. Are we united? We are divided. We are divided right in the middle. Are we peaceful? Relatively. But there are serious threats to the peace. Is Sierra Leone progressing? One may say the glass is half full. Those who are optimistic. Those who are pessimistic will say that the current state of Sierra Leone is showing that we are not going anywhere. It's like we are in a gridlock situation where we cannot move forward and we cannot move behind. So I think as a nation, it is incumbent on all of us, citizens of Sierra Leone, to put our hands on deck and to promote peace. If you look at the TLC report, some of these things are highlighted, the antecedents to the war. And there are recommendations that we are considered as imperative recommendations. Those recommendations are still there.
Not been implemented.
Some of them have been implemented. Some of them have not been implemented. And even in the case where some have been implemented, like for instance, now we have a peace commission. I wish the peace commission people would have been here. We have a peace commission, and the Peace Commission Act itself is being undermined grossly by the state. The Peace Commission Act states that the executive secretary and all other positions, they should be recruited by the board. What we saw is an appointment from State House of the executive secretary, directors of department, which is very, very, very much
just out of curiosity, Thomas. That particular commission was set up as a fulfillment to one of the recommendations in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. And it's been a permanent infrastructure to secure Sierra Leone's peace and national cohesion. I mean, from the build-up to the formation of the commission itself, from the conference and all of that, we've seen many concerns being raised as to how the process was until the setting up of the commission, and now the recruitment, which many again have questioned as that those who are in charge have undermined that very commission. So evidently the commission will not live up to its expectations.
I think the commission was born out of the same division we are talking about. In the approval, when they were approving the bill, by Parliament, the discussion was so divisive. It is expected that there will be disagreement in Parliament. And there were serious concerns raised about the minister appointing people to the board or recommending people to the president to appoint. But I think there are criteria in the Act for people that should be board member. But when it comes to recruitment, the Act solely gives the board the permission to appoint, to recruit, not to appoint, meaning people have to apply. There should be criteria, people have to apply and compete. This is not to say that Madam Awasamai in the board is not competent. She is very competent, and we know she's been in peace management for a very long time. But even if you want to give her the job, you should open it up and allow competition. So that maybe there are people out there who have better ideas than her. But the footing on which the Peace Commission was set, it shows how divisive we are, how the state is capturing serious institutions.
What if the state submits to you or advance an argument now that the president, you just read the forward in the new direction manifesto, the president promised a united nation, and one way to achieving that united nation, a united Sierra Leone, is the setting up of the Peace Commission to look after Sierra Leone's peace permanently.
I agree that the president has made several overtures with regards peace, sending his hands to the opposition in terms of Bintumani free, in terms of the creation of the Peace Commission. But I think the president should do more. We Sierra Leoneans, first of all, this is a very poor state. And we should have a president that will inspire us in all we are doing. If we want peace, we need a president that should put dialogue as part of his agenda. Dialoguing with every other person in the society. After the August 10 incident, the president of Guinea-Bissau, who came to Sierra Leone, that is one of his position to the president that he should try and dialogue with everyone, devoid of color, political affiliation, tribes, or region. As a president, he is elected to govern the state. He is the father of the nation. If you look at some of the functions, or say the description the Constitution gives the president, you will see that the president should be the one bringing the state together. But in there are instances wherein the president has not been doing that. There are instances wherein he has sent his hands to the opposition and they've not been coming on board. Perhaps it is because of the nature of our politics. And I believe even the competition, internal politics in our political parties is very, very wrong. People are using vigilantes and so on and so forth to get leadership in the political parties. And if you don't get peace from your political party, or you come to power on the basis of conflict, there is no way you are going to rule a united state, a state that is united and peaceful.
All right.
Because the background you are coming from is very violent. The background you are coming from is very unpeaceful. So I think we should start from the political parties, the way of doing their politics.
All right. We'll come to the specifics. Let me get the precursory remark from Alfred Minkalu Krumah from the All People's Congress Party. Putting Sierra Leone's peace into context, where would you put that at the moment?
Thank you, Samuel. We are here to discuss the International Day of International Peace and relating it to Sierra Leone context. Let it be established that we need to understand clearly the theme for this year's, International Day of Peace celebration, which is End Racism and Build Peace. I think if we are to relate it to the Sierra Leone context, we may be tempted to say end tribalism, end regionalism, and build peace. Because you see, it is very evident now that regionalism and tribalism has eaten into the fabric of our politics in this country, and that is completely wrong. We want to understand that, in fact, the whole thing about peace is not just the absence of violence. It was accounted for by Joan Galton that peace is not only the absence of violence, but the presence of justice. And we know in Sierra Leone, we need to understand that there are stages of conflict. When you talk about peace, there must have existed a conflict. That is why we talk about peace. Without conflict, there will have been no peace. There will have been no need for peace. But ourselves are always in conflict with each other. And when the conflict is at a certain stage that you can no longer control it, it will degenerate to a level that will wreak untold suffering on the people. And that is what we don't want in this country. But what we've noticed, I heard Thomas Dixon mentioning some of the strides that have been made by governments. He made reference to Bintumani 3. He also made reference to the creation of the Peace Commission, which is a recommendation of the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. People must know that, those that met, the General Assembly that met some decades ago in 1981 and decided to establish this International Day of Peace, have something in mind. And even after 2 decades in 2001, when they gathered again at the same General Assembly, they decided to adopt the 21st of September as a day to mark, world peace. And in fact, on that day, all those that are in conflict are expected to observe ceasefire. Violence are not expected to, be perpetrated. But unfortunately, on that very day in Sierra Leone, we witnessed instances in which violence were perpetrated in some parts of the country. I am just coming from Bonth. I also traversed Moyamba, Bo, and Pujon before coming. I just arrived today. I went there with the revered Momodu Maligi, former Minister of Water Resources, who is a son of the soil. Yeah, he was also born and raised in Bonth at some point. Yeah, he's also a Bontanian. I'm just coming from there. I tell you, Samuel, on that very day, we witnessed a situation in Wednesday wherein some of our party agents were malhandled, they were beaten, their agent tax destroyed
by
a certain group that is calling themselves Soldier Team. Can you just imagine? A certain militant group within the SLPP calling itself Soldier Team went to centers, registration centers. The malhandle, we took records of that. We have the incident report, record of the centers, you know, at a school called UBC. UBC school was the 234 constituency 092, center code 12110. An agent of the APC was malhandled, beaten seriously, you know, his tag destroyed and taken to the police station. The same Soldier Team guys, they said they are not only to malhandle him, but also effect arrest. This happened on Wednesday. Two of them, they were taken to the police station. We arrived there on Thursday when we received the complaint. We went to the police station to investigate. The crime officer told us that it was already arrived late because of the bad terrain, the road, that we should come the other day. First thing in the morning, we went there, we were told he has been transferred to Bo. We were there also in Bo yesterday to meet with those suspects. They were severely beaten. Then we are talking about peace. We are talking about Bintumani 3. How can you call Bintumani 3, as was once accounted for by Batista Michael, the revered lawyer, after removing 10 of our members of Parliament and imposing a speaker on Parliament? Then he called Bintumani 3. Do you think that the opposition, cannot decipher that the government is very, very brutal, corrupt, and is not thinking as the average person?
But advocates
let us know that.
Advocates advanced arguments then that, that was a perfect opportunity for the opposition, especially the APC, to have made its case against the thing been done that you're dissatisfied with.
Yeah, it all begs the question, what will change? Even if the APC, will have made a representation. If I was to make a decision for the APC, I would have decided that the APC should go there. Because for me, I would make use of any opportunity to score home a point that the nation will actually be in the position to judge. If I was the one to advise, But the party took a decision not to go there. And I saw reasons with the party at that time, because it was just too fresh. Immediately after President Bio was announced, people were chased from Kailahun, Kenema, stalls of passive APC supporters were destroyed, certain women were raped, some were chased from Kono to Mashingbi. They even put together a team that was led by the vice president. The deputy chairman, at the time, the Honorable Minkailu Mansari, was co-chairman of that particular team. In the end, they only met once or twice, and they never did continue. No report was actually communicated. So it was just left like that. How can we rely on that kind of government to even sit and discuss peace? We say we want to establish a commission of peace, Like I have stated, peace is not just the absence of violence, but the presence of justice, once accounted for by Joan Galton. This commission of peace is observing a lot of things, and the commission is not taking action. Let us realize that we have stages of conflict. One cannot just wake up one morning and say there is a conflict, There is a latent stage. At this stage, participants may not even be aware of the conflict. But we expect those in the commission to be experts, to now realize that those occurrences must be addressed and nipped on the bud. The decade civil incursion in Sierra Leone did not just start one morning, A lot of people accounted for a lot of human rights violations at the time. I don't care the government that was in existence, but the truth of the matter is human rights were not respected. The rule of law was not respected. Political exclusion was actually present. A lot of things accounted for that war. But they did not just happen. The judiciary was seriously accused. Now we fought a decade war, and we had what we call post-war reconstruction. We are talking about peace building here. Post-war reconstruction, we looked at the infrastructure of the country. We looked at institutions, not only the infrastructure, physical infrastructure, but even the institutions. You saw Kit Bidul coming to Sierra Leone. The British people assisted us to reform our police sector, the security sector, the police, the ONS, the military, and even the judiciary. Those institutions were reformed at the time. But then, even after the reformation, they still cannot live up to expectation. And the same reasons, as Dixon actually pointed out, that you are responsible for the decade civil incursion that wreaked havoc in this country, which destroyed our economy, our infrastructure, made some people displaced and some refugees that never came back. The same reasons are still surfacing. And the government is actually not stamping its authority to ensure they are nipped on the bud. Unfortunately, in some instances, government officials are even aiding and abetting. Same. I saw on a video, former resident minister, not now deputy minister, at some point was actually very aggressive with one of our, operatives. Yeah, that is vying for the position of the Women's Congress president. Yeah, we've seen all of those things happening. The Peace Commission is not coming out to condemn those things. We've seen first-time voters being denied. These are all recipes for chaos in this country. We must point them out.
Before we go to these specifics, let me just again inform our audience, our viewers, listeners, and followers that we're still looking forward to receiving Wusu Dadida Jallo from the Strategic Communications Unit at the Ministry of Information and Communications, and of course a representative from the Commission for Peace and National Cohesion to join the conversation. But let me quickly bring, and so obviously Wusu would then have the opportunity to respond to the claims of Alfred Minkailu that their party agents were beaten in Banff. But we'll also try to get the Sierra Leone police to respond to that allegation as the show continues. But Dixie, let me quickly hear from you. You wanted to give the specifics in terms of really what is responsible for the current state of affairs. Looking at Sierra Leone's piece, you were going to make a submission about the politics we practice. And I love the fact that Minkailu mentioned that the global theme for the International Day of Peace was End Racism, Build Peace. The National Peace Commission here in Sierra Leone coined its own as End Tribalism, Build Peace. And Minkailu went further to say, we should say End Regional Tribalism, HP, and let us build peace. Looking at that, and making a submission from the side of the political parties. We've seen where the APC, for example, has been accused of fanning the flames of tribalism, regionalism, preaching all of these things, with the mayor being called in, the 2018 presidential candidate, Dr. Samuel Matthew Wilson Kamara, also being named. So if we're to talk about all of these things, where do we put the political parties and their rhetorics to ensure that we're able to maintain our peace?
I think when we are talking about peace, we have to be very, very, very cautious and very sincere. My brother, Minkailu, talked about political vigilantes.
Right.
In Banff. I think that should be condemned by all of us, that every political party has a right to sensitize, to campaign in every part of Sierra Leone. And we should not go back to that point where we prevent people from campaigning, from sensitizing their people. And it's not just about somebody coming from Banff or somebody being born in Banff. Right. Every Sierra Leonean has the right to move anywhere, canvass people and talk to them about the registration and even election. But let us take political vigilantism and put it into concept. The political parties, the APC and the SLPP, they have political vigilantism, and it is embedded in their political fabric. The APC has APC Warrior. They have that APC Task Force. That is a political vigilante group. The SLPP have this Jatim. That's a political vigilante group. And what is saddening is the fact that most of these people in these groups, they will end up metamorphosed when their party is in power to police officers.
Being the forces, the security forces.
They will transform them. The APC did that. People like Leather Boots, the SLPP is doing that. If you look at the presidential guard, most of them were political vigilantes in the SLPP. So this is the situation. We have to come out and condemn
Do we have the atmosphere to deal with this? Why I'm asking, because very recently the Office of National Security issued a statement that they've banned all the use of marshals. So marshallism should not be part of our political practice.
That is just by word of mouth. They know that political marshals are existing in these political parties and they are very close to the presidency. And as a state, as people who must come out and condemn across the board that this thing is not good. We are creating, it is not starting now. Yes. It started, in fact, when you read the TRC report, the TRC talked about political vigilantism. And this political vigilantism transformed itself into the ISU, later the SSD, and now the OSD, the operational wing of the police. And that is where you have some of these political violent people, young people, being transformed from being, if you take somebody who is a thief and you make that person a police officer, you are just giving a thief a uniform. Likewise, if you make somebody who is violent, you are giving a violent person a uniform. You are giving him the legitimacy to go out and unleash violence. That is what is happening in our state. And it is not only restricted to Sierra Leone. I think I was following Joy News in Ghana. It is the same thing. The two main political parties there, the two main political parties in Sierra Leone here, there is serious. If we are honest, we'll point these things out. And let us look at a way. But again, the downside is, most of the reason the political parties or the players in the political parties will say for this is the independence of the police force. Because where you have an independent professional police force, they are to provide security for every one of us, devoid of our political differences, devoid of who is in power.
That claim can only come from the opposition politicians.
Yeah, that is
at any time.
Yes,
when
it can. Yes, and you see the thing about Sierra Leone, it is. Well, these things that we are crying about,
right,
when the other party will come to power, they will still occur. We saw the SLPP crying about these things. And now that they are in power, instead of them correcting these wrongs, they are righting the wrongs. And two wrongs don't make a right. So let me come to your question again about the
politics ethno-regional, the tribal rhetorics being put out by politicians.
Sierra Leoneans generally are not tribal, they are not regionalistic.
Right.
Yeah? We have huge intermarriage in this part of the world. You go to countries like Nigeria, it is not happening. It is a taboo for one tribe to marry another tribe. In Sierra Leone, politicians are fanning the flames of regionalism and tribalism. And it is also in the TRC report. If you read the executive summary, the TRC report was very succinct about the 1967 election, how it went into tribal and regionalism. So these are the same things happening now. You mentioned Yvonne Akisua, the mayor of Freetown. The statement from Yvonne Akisua is not responsible. Similarly, the statement of Dr. Samura Kamara was not responsible. We expected them to draw people together, to unite the nation. And it is also part of the recommendation of the TRC that political parties should commit themselves to peace and unity. Those statements, they are very divisive. Those statements, they will not even give you votes. So I don't think political parties should degenerate to the level of tribalism. It is because there is no message. If you have a message, a serious message, you will not engage in tribalism. First of all, I went to a school. My friends, I have friends from the southeast, friends from the south, the east, the north, every other part of Sierra Leone. I went to the university with Minkai, who was a little bit senior than me. We were in the university. I'm sure he has friends that are southerner, friends that are easterner, friends that are westerner. But this thing about tribalism will ramp up when we are coming to election. And you look at, for instance, Dr. Samura Kamara, he was talking to young people. I think it was not guided properly. Talking to young people, you should know that is a diverse group, and you should not make any statement give some tribal sentiment or regional sentiment.
Are these things not deliberate on the side of the politicians, be it APC, be it SLPP, in the sense that they know when they play with the minds of their clansmen? I mean, at the end of the day, they're buying into whatever they're giving, and that creates unrest or instability for the states.
In politics, political parties have strongholds. And we all know the stronghold of the APC and the tribe that is dominated in that stronghold. We all know the stronghold of the SLPP and the tribe that is dominated in that. So they are always doing that to ensure to ginger up their tribes. But in doing that, you are actually bringing up some form of prejudice against the other man. For me, I would always say those of us who are coming from minor tribes, when these discussions are happening, it seems as if we don't have anywhere to go. Yes.
Right.
We should look at Sierra Leone. There are 12 tribes. And people should stop this thing about tribalism. Let us talk about issues. There are a lot of issues we could talk about. The economy, education, health. There are a lot of issues we could talk about. And there are a lot of issues you can talk about and win people over. Take, for instance, the economy. If you want to canvass voters, talk about the economy. We know the shape of the economy. In your introduction, you talk about the economy. Right. If you want to canvass voters, talk about the educational sector. Talk about the health sector. We know what is happening. Talk about agriculture. There are issues we should talk about. And let us see ourselves as a one nation, as Sierra Leoneans, and not as Limba, Temne, Mende, or Kriyo.
At this point, who should we hold responsible for this evident division along these lines? Because, I mean, even the allocation of state resources, many would tell you it's not equal. If my party is in power, then my region, my stronghold gets the best.
I agree with you. The state, the current government should be held responsible. The president should be seen as the president of Sierra Leone, not just by his words, but by his actions. If you are appointing more people from your region, even when it comes to, for instance, institutions that have been created by the state, this, like, let's take the Peace Commission, for example. Jobs that should be advertised, competed for by Sierra Leoneans, they were appointed by the president. Executive Secretary, Director of Peace, Director of this communication. These we all saw the letters on social media. These are people that were appointed by the president. In doing these things, you are not bringing Sierra Leoneans together. So if you have a loop-sided appointment in government, a government that will be seen by the majority of the people as one-sided, then you are not going to govern the whole of the country. So the president should be able to bend backward over to accept other people in his government. And it should allow the institutions to work. My brother mentioned the judiciary.
And you also spoke about how national institutions have been captured. But I want to hold it there. We'll come to the issue of state capture and how those institutions are contributing to the current state of affairs. Let me bring in Alfred. You've listened to Thomas's submission. We're looking at how politics is contributing to the current state of affairs with regards to peace. I know there are many factors. We would soon come to the economic factors. But politics, I mean, from you, the politicians, you are being accused for being responsible for the current state of affairs, the current divide, the polarization Sierra Leone suffers at this point. That today, evidently, by default, when you talk about Northwest, it's a red color, the APC. When you talk about Southeast, it's the green color, the SLPP. And so we've reconfigured the minds of Sierra Leoneans to play along. And so it's easy for you, the politicians, to thrive, especially using now the tribal rhetorics, regional rhetorics, and all of that. Where do you come in as politicians to just call down this crisis?
Yeah, Samuel, firstly, I want to address a few of the concerns that were raised by Dixon.
Go ahead.
You know, Dixon is somebody I consider to be very liberal. You know, I have great respect for him. I have followed him for far too long now. But I want to completely disagree with him regarding APC warriors. We don't have APC warriors. You know, the president did raise this the other day in a speech, that there is a group called APC warriors. Well, if it does exist, we do not recognize that group in our party. We don't have.
You've never
APC
heard about.
No,
You've
never.
not seen any member.
No, we don't have APC warriors. I agree with him that political parties do have task force. APC, before now, we do have task force, yeah? But there was a period in which the Political Parties Registration Commission, the ONS, and the police, you know, you saw the press release coming from them. They met with political parties and asked that those task force, you know, be actually disbanded, yeah? And I am certain we have people that are vigilantes. They support us when we go for campaign. They are always around. They provide the necessary security that we need, the immediate security.
That the states cannot provide?
You know, notwithstanding the presence of the security forces, yeah. But these are things we cannot just deny. These are facts.
Yes.
I am not that type of cheap politician that will seek to deceive the people. Those groups do exist.
Right.
But I want to state here that during the APC era, we never saw individuals from the APC task force misbehaving all over the place. It did not happen. Arresting and beating up SLPP people, it did not happen. We have to state the fact. But to say they don't exist, I will not state that here. They do exist in all of the political parties.
Up till now?
Yeah, those groups do exist. There is a statement to the effect banning all those groups.
Right.
Yeah? But to say the individuals are no longer members of this party, they don't come around when we go around to campaign, I don't want to say that. I will not say that because it will be a disservice to this nation. They are there, but these are people that are members. They are card-carrying members of the party. They are young and energetic and are there to provide the necessary support. When we want to go build a stage, for example, to mount a campaign, we want to bring speakers and do other things, they will be there to assist. We must say that. So these are not bad people. But for the APC warriors, it does not exist. I don't want my brother to believe in what the president stated the other day. The TRC report, I agree with him that most of the recommendations of the report are seemingly being implemented, but the effect is not being felt. And that is what is bad for the country. If we want this country to actually be in peace, the kind of peace that we want for this country, we do not have to play lip service. We do not have to do what we call facade. We pretend as if this is happening when it is not happening. It is actually very wrong. Yeah? So let us go back and see the recommendations and implement them to the fullest. Those that will be implemented, let us apply them, not just on theory, but let them be practical. That will be good for country. As for Dr. Samura Matthew Wilson Kamara and Yvonne Akisoya, I want to disagree with my brother also, you know, to say their statements, you know, we are irresponsible. I want to believe I would not have mentioned that if I was to speak. That is the truth. I have stated that, yeah.
Why would you not have mentioned that?
Because I am a different person.
Because the statements are not responsible?
I want to say, for me, I consider it to be political exuberance. I don't want to believe it is irresponsible.
And so they went overboard.
Yeah, no, political exuberance, yeah. Samuel, let me put it that way. Now, we are talking about tribalism, yeah?
Yes.
Relating people. People like Samura Kamara is married to Massa Samura Kamara, Elizabeth Massa Samura Kamara from Pujo. Nii Rogers, yeah. He was actually school in Bo, St. Andrews, UCC. He spent some of his life in Bo for a very long period of time. He had actually, you know, developed a culture that is balanced, both from the north and the southeast. So I don't think he is that kind of person that is tribalistic.
Is not say otherwise?
I don't believe so. I have said it is political exuberance. Okay. And some of the things, the things he stated are actually things that are in existence in this country. We must not deny the fact. You know, we have seen other politicians, I don't want to make comparison, making statements more inimical than those that were made by Yvonne and Dr. Samura. I don't know why people want to blow them out of proportion, and they have made them now part of the debate. They have been part of our political register. When they want to condemn the APC, they will say, Samura Kamara did this, Yvonne did that. But again, I am one person, like Dixon stated, I am against tribalism and regionalism. I have nieces and nephews who are Mendes. I am a Temne, but I was born and raised in Kenema. When I went to Bond and I was given the platform to talk, to address the people in Bond, I told them I was visiting Bond for the second time. I went there sometimes in the 90s. I was in primary school. My elder sister, well, now late, actually took me to Bond for a holiday because she was married to a man from Bond, a Mende man from Bond, one of the Bannisters. And now I have nieces and nephews who are also Bannisters, that are coming from Bond. They are Mendes. So you cannot expect me to actually tolerate a situation that will lead to tribalism because we'll be killing our own people. That is just too clear. I went to school and university with people who are Mendes. Most of them never realized that I was not a Mende until lately because I do speak Mende fluently, just like I did for Temne. So for me, tribalism must not have a place in our political culture.
So
we must try to discourage it completely.
How would you then kick it out of the equation as the politicians? Because it appears that's the vehicle you drive.
Those that are using tribalism as a political tool, these are weak politicians. Because you have many things to campaign on. No one political party will win an election without the support of the other tribes or region. If all of the Tamilans come together and vote for a certain president, that president will not win until you have the support of the Mendes, the Fulas, the Konos, and other tribes. If all of the Mendes come together to vote for a president, that president will not win until the support of other tribes are enhanced. So why must we embark on preaching tribalism to score political goals? It is actually wrong. We must try as by all means necessary to discourage it. For me, we have many things to campaign on. When you go, present a manifesto that is convincing. Tell the people how you will fix the roads. The roads are very deplorable in the country. They are very deplorable. If the SLPP promise free quality education as a flagship program and they cannot deliver to the expectation of the people, that is enough to use to campaign against the SLPP without using tribalism. I think only weak politicians will rely on tribalism. And I have seen it across the political divide. Certain people rely on tribalism. When I went to Bond, even for our internal political party dynamics, I told them that don't vote based on tribalism. Vote for somebody that is competent and that will be able to deliver. I wish to see a period in history in which we shall have a flag bearer who is a Mende in the APC. I want to see somebody who is a Mende, for example, to be the leader or the chairman of the APC. I want to see that. Because for me, if it is the All People's Congress, it means all shades of opinions, all tribes, all regions must have the opportunity to compete on a level playing field.
It should be a Sierra Leonean platform.
A Sierra Leonean platform. So for those politicians using tribalism to score political goals, it is weak. It is not in the interest of the country. It is not yielding any fruits for national cohesion. It must be discouraged.
All right, let's go back to just some the political rhetorics. I know the APC has advanced arguments that the division or the attack of vengeance, should I put it, was clearly orchestrated by the SLPP from the governance transition team report. When you felt attacked, when you felt convicted already, even before, the process of trial. And that has led to the politics and the governance style we are in at the moment. Is that in any way contributing to Sierra Leone's, fragile state in terms of peace?
I have had the privilege to debate on that topic when the transition committee, the transition team was established in 2018. I had the privilege to be hosted by yourself and some point, Lamrana. I was here debating with Keketoma and other guys. I told them that they have started on the wrong footing. To state clearly in a transition report that the APC employ people on tribal basis, that the Temnes and Limbas, were employed, they were dominating the civil service. That was wrong. If you now say you are to conduct a study, let me state this for the records. Most of the northerners, most people in other tribes, they believe in doing business. For our Temne people, you can see somebody with a master's degree still running a shop at Abacha. You can see somebody with a master's degree still going to China, to Guinea, to Dubai, coming back home to sell. They are not too eager to go to offices. Most of the Southeasterners, they are very conscious of ensuring that they make use of their qualifications. So most of them are found in the ministries, departments, and agencies. So that particular calculation was wrong. They started on the wrong footing. If I am president of Sierra Leone today, I will not even set up a commission of inquiry. That would be waste of resources and time.
Why is that?
Yeah, because we have the, how do they call it, the audit report. The audit report is there to actually investigate financial impropriety, point out corruption, just empower the ACC to now ensure they investigate the audit report correctly, to bring perpetrators to book. Don't, look for a situation in which you will even waste your time and resources. The audit report and the ACC functioning, without political lens, the ACC functioning with free hands, not being under any influence, not being under the dictates of the president. We can curb corruption in this country without even setting up a commission of inquiry. That is also the reason when you want to take up public office, they will ask you for asset declaration. If you accumulate wealth that you cannot account for and you are being indicted in the audit report, the ACC can actually do the job without setting up a commission of inquiry, especially when it is a tool to witch hunt people. It is wrong.
All right. Let me just, allay the fears or concerns of our viewers in Kenema. We're coming. You've highlighted some challenges that with our signal on TV and radio. I'm seeing the comments. We'll address those technical concerns. Yeah.
Somebody in McKinney also sent me a message that they are not accessing it on Facebook.
All right, and even but it's on Facebook. I'm watching right now on Facebook as the show is ongoing. But also, those of you complaining that SATCON, you're having some technical glitch on SATCON. We're trying to sort out all those technical challenges you're complaining. But Thomas, I listened to President Bill at the United Nations General Assembly. He mentioned that back home, his government is investing hugely in education, which is a tool for inclusion. And so, if we're talking about inclusion, the opposition is crying always that they've been excluded in the governance structure, the way the governance architecture is designed. They are complaining that they've been left out. And the government is saying, no. This is a very inclusive government. Going back to the governance transition team reports, that the opposition felt they were accused and convicted by the government, running down to where we are, the recent August 10 carnage. The opposition said, wait. You cannot be saying this is us. We financed, we orchestrate, we did everything. We're responsible, and you're setting up a committee. And that committee already, we know 80% of them, of the people that are compromised because you gave them jobs, Mr. President, and telling them to come and investigate us after you have told them that we are responsible. So where are we in terms of actually setting the stage for peace?
First of all, I think I have spoken about the government transition team report before. I think where I believe that there should be in other countries in the constitution there is the need, the provision for a transition team and for a transition report to state what a new government will meet, to state where the route the new government should take, and to have a smooth transition. And that is where I want to support a transition team. But when you look at that report, there are tribal lines, tribal rhetorics. In fact, I stated it here that the transition report was maligned with people and their tribes. And that's a government document. Right. And what got me worried is the fact that the chairman of the transition report was is a peace expert, a professor in peace and conflict. And you could see people, names and tribes inscribed in a document. Even before the report is out, you could have said that, no, this is against peace infrastructure, is against the national coexistence of Sierra Leoneans. I think that is where the transition team missed it. to put tribal rhetorics. But when we talk about corruption in, my brother mentioned the ACC Commission of Inquiry
and the audit report.
We've seen situation wherein the ACC used the audit report, 2015 audit report, to invite politicians of the opposition, and people jumped on the street in Sierra Leone. We've seen a situation in our country wherein politicians are always using the people as shield when it comes to accountability. And for me, it is sad. When you look at other countries, you see former president, former minister, they are being indicted, and so on and so forth. But they will not use the people as shield to be held accountable. Now coming to the education, I think the free quality education is everywhere, across the country. I think when the president was talking about inclusion, he meant the free quality education involves everyone in Sierra Leone. And for me, I would have been happy if the president would have said, even my own daughter is attending a government school. And I'm proud that the quality that is being given to my daughter is being given to all other children in Sierra Leone. I would have been proud that this president is actually doing good. But in a situation where you look at the quality in our government schools and the quality in the private school, it's unequal. And when you talk about peace again, you talk about equality. We should have equal access to quality education, not just free education. For me, what I think we have there is free education. 100%, I will not say 100%, there is free education. But when it comes to quality, there are challenges that the state needs to overcome. That is where my brother, when my brother was talking about using the same free quality education promise to campaign against the system is far more better than using tribal rhetorics. So I agree with you that the transition team report was maligned with tribal rhetorics, and I also believe that the free education policy is inclusive. It cuts across Sierra Leone.
Let's get to talk about the economic situation in Sierra Leone and how that is helping the threats or pushing the threat to Sierra Leone's peace. What is currently happening in Sierra Leone? It appears that those in charge of our economy cannot take care of us as a nation. And so you go to the market today, it's a different price if you go there tomorrow. I mean, prices of commodities are just skyrocketing. You look at our exchange rate, it's something you would not want to talk about. Inflation is on the other end. So we have our fiscal policies being implemented by the Ministry of Finance, but many, economic pundits are saying there is nothing happening. You look at our monetary policy being implemented by the Bank of Salon. The experts would tell you, we need liberation. We need to be redeemed. So, looking at all of these things, unemployment again is another crisis. People go to bed. The other day I had to moderate a show on the International Day of Peace. I moderated a program at the Freetown City Hall that looked exclusively at peace. And what the chairman of Blackstreet mentioned is that if you come from a family of 6, you were the only boy, in the family, and after your mom and dad gave birth to 6 girls, and you were in a room, just a single room, then you are left with no choice to go out, you the boy, because you cannot continue to sleep with your sisters in that single room. And you go out without any foundation, without no better education, then you have to just become problems, and you're being used as a tool by the politicians to achieve their dreams. So our monumental abject poverty appears to be a major contributing factor to the threats that we see towards the peace in Sierra Leone. How do we put this into context?
I believe Sierra Leone, this government talk about controlling expenditure and generating more revenue and reducing the wage bill. Despite the fact that there is global inflation affecting all other countries, I think our economy started feeling even before COVID. Our economy started feeling even before Ukraine-Russian war. just that the Ukraine-Russian war, the COVID, exacerbated
the crisis.
I think when you look at several recent audit reports, you will see reasons why the economy is failing. And I was reading the July 2022 performance audit of the Ministry of Finance, wherein the audit is saying that unverified contractors are being paid over 600 billion euros.
Corruption, literally.
Corruption. So you look at the effect of corruption on the economy. You also look at factors that are responsible for the economy, because you have the issue of, for your exchange rate to be better, you have the issue of exporting. What are you exporting?
Nothing.
And the bank governor in redenominating the euro was saying that if we still continue to behave like the way we used to do, definitely the redenominated euro will depreciate. And for me, it is just that it is too fast that the redenominated Leone has already started depreciating, even before it is coming into proper use by the citizen. So for me, I think we have to do something. And we see the bank governor, the current bank governor, backstepping on some of the policies he initially
announced.
took.
Right.
And some of these policy actually worsened the situation, like restriction of removing restriction on withdrawal. If I have my money and there is restriction on withdrawal, I will keep my money at home. And then there will be
where you have unlimited access.
Where I have unlimited access, instead of going with my money to the system. So it's better late than never that he has removed the restriction. I think he created that situation. And the cost of food for the layman.
Right.
The cost of food. This government talked about the Tomabom project from 2018. And even before this government, the former government talked about in the second inning of President Kuma, agriculture was the major, the flagship program.
So
and if you look at the independence speech of Sir Milton, he talked about agriculture, meaning all other presidents, all other governments have been talking about agriculture, but we've not been seeing. When you plant something, you will get it, and you will see food on the table. But go around, you see poverty in the faces of our young people. You see hunger in the faces of our children. And it is sad, nobody is talking to. I think some of these things created an atmosphere of conflict recently, wherein nobody is telling the people, even if it is the Russia and Ukraine war, come out and tell the people that the reason for this is the Russia is the COVID situation. I know as a journalist that government took action through their policy in ameliorating some of the effects of the COVID.
Right.
But how many people out there know? So if somebody else let's say in Guinea, is feeding the people with alternative fact, and you are not giving them the fact, then you are creating problem for yourself.
So communication is also a
communication gap is a problem. So in terms of the economy, I don't think we are doing well. But also, I don't think the world is doing well in terms of the economy.
Right.
For the first time in the West, the dollar is performing more than the euro in England. But I think individual governments are taking individual decisions. For instance, in UK, the government is paying some amount of energy, subsidizing the energy sector so that people will not feel the effect too much. In Sierra Leone, we are expecting government not to raise the tariff on electricity bill. In the period of COVID, the tariff on electricity bill was raised.
Biting very hard.
Now, where you used to top up 100,000 loans, if you have your 100,000 loans and you top up, you are going to get 40,000 top up, serving you for at least 2 weeks. Where you used to have 100,000 loans serving you for at least 1 month. These are the situation where somebody who is selling cold water, ginger beer, and is using 100,000 loans to top up, and that top up will run throughout the month. That thing is actually affecting the business. So even small businesses are being affected by these energy bills. And I think it was not prudent. The timing was wrong for us to have increased tariff. You look at the massive youth unemployment. Massive, even for the ones that are... That is why, in fact, we should not think about conflict. Because when we think about conflict, we are going backward. Young people will not get jobs. Investors will be afraid to come and invest in Sierra Leone. After the August 10, nobody will think that Sierra Leone is stable. Nobody, we are on CNN, we are on Al Jazeera for the wrong reasons. No investor will come with $10, $15, $20 million to invest in a country that is on the edge to conflict. So for me, I think we have to sit back and recalibrate our economy. I believe the COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war, they are having bite on the economy, but the economy started failing even before then.
Alfred, looking at Sierra Leone's economy, many people have always said APC, SLPP, they have failed Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans in terms of making lives, and livelihood better for Sierra Leoneans. But it appears you, the people you, the politicians, are enjoying. Unfortunately, you're the only politician here this evening. You, the politicians, are enjoying. You're using that to thrive very well, because many people will tell you, okay, given we have a constitution that says these socio-economic rights are non-justiciable. In fact, the experts would say, the ECOSOC rights belong to the second generation rights. You cannot take the government to court because the government does not provide food for you on the table, because the government does not give you a job. So the politicians always use that. Now, imagine those who were out on the streets on August 10th, they were hungry. They have, according to the allegations, they have politicians who went to them, gave them some money, put food in their tummies, and at the end of the day, they went out to fulfill the desires of the politicians. Many others said, no. That had nothing to do with politics. It had everything to do with the current state of affairs. There is poverty, there is suffering, no jobs. But what is really being done, politically, to alleviate the sufferings? So at the end of the day, Sierra Leone can be peaceful, because with all of these things, Sierra Leone is not peaceful and would never be peaceful.
Yes, we pray that Sierra Leone is actually not peaceful. I agree. Yeah, we are enjoying a relative peace. You may want to refer to it as negative peace. But to pray that someday Sierra Leone will be peaceful. Yeah, we'll enjoy positive peace. I want to start with the free quality education. I have stated here that the free quality education is not free. My brother was saying, well, he may not want to say quality, but there is free education, at least free education. Now, when we say free education, it's not just about tuition fee. We are seeing, kids going for interviews, parents and wards spending millions, even though it is free education. In some government schools, almost all of the government schools, they still charge admission fee. They will ask you to buy badge, tie, and some books that are sold in the school. You'll have to get a school bag for your kid, shoes, and you're expected to be given lunch, and sometimes transportation. You understand? Because even the school buses, they are not adequate enough to salvage the situation. So the free quality education is actually not free.
But it's a start. It was never that.
Yeah, I am not saying it is not a good initiative, but it is not free. And one thing I have always stated, we actually, when the APC was in governance, under the Dr. Minkai Luba of blessed memory, I have stated this countlessly, that our female colleagues, we are not paying fees at the university if they are in the sciences. Those are the engineering at the time, biological sciences, chemistry and geology, medicine, we are not paying fees at university level. So at that time, it's a higher rate compared to what is being spent for primary school or secondary school kids.
I have a letter.
Let us know that.
I have a letter signed by the former minister, the late man now you're mentioning.
Yeah, signed for what reason?
That he wrote to the registrar of the University of Sierra Leone, and in his own words, education is in a sorry state of affairs. So that's confession from him that the education sector was a mess.
I am not saying it was perfect. I am just telling you, I cannot sit here as a Sierra Leonean and tell you it was perfect even during our own time. The challenges were enormous,
right?
But we are able to at least address some of them adequately.
But those are still continuing.
Even the school feeding projects, we commenced that. Let us know that. But this is different altogether.
Go ahead.
They promise us, go to their manifesto, the New Direction Manifesto, the People's Manifesto. They have not delivered a 50% of what they promised regarding free quality education. We must be honest to ourselves.
Right.
We are not here actually to debate the free quality education. I just wanted to mention that in passing.
Go ahead.
Now let me proceed here. The state of the economy, it is abysmal. And that is very sad for society. One thing that is killing the economy is the high rate of taxation. I was passing along Shaka Stevens Street. I was approached by a few business people that told me that they will soon relocate their businesses to neighboring Guinea or Liberia because of the taxation. Government must look into that. When the taxes are high, we, the final consumers, we always suffer the brunt. For the business people, they can still make their profit. When they go to buy, they come and they are being taxed at high rates, they will increase the prices of their commodities.
Right.
So the burden will have to come to us, the final consumers, the citizens. Government must look actually into that very seriously. The exchange rates, one is putting the blame on COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war. Let me tell you, these are unforeseen circumstances. When you prepare your manifesto, you need to plan for them. We have both man-made and natural disasters. So as a government, you must not just sit after failing the people. You now rely on Russia-Ukraine war. You now rely on COVID-19 as an excuse.
Other nations are suffering.
Let me just say this. Come the 24th June, you are going to tell this nation, if you are elected, to actually rely on COVID-19 or Russia-Ukraine war. Now, during our own time, these are disasters. They are natural, yeah? Like for us, we had Ebola in this country. When Sierra Leone was almost rated as one of the fastest growing economy, then come Ebola. There was another shock, the drop in the prices of iron ore. At the time, Sierra Leone was actually rated as the fastest, one of the fastest growing economy. But we were able to manage the situation as a government.
We were able to manage the situation. But that's led to the implementation of austerity measures.
Now, what is austerity
22
measures?
austerity measures
as a responsible government, it was in place for austerity measure. Now, when we say austerity measure,
cannot compare Ebola. I think this is the same thing that.
But this is the same.
This is quickly.
Yes.
This is the same question that was asked to Dr. Samuel Kama on the BBC. That you cannot compare Ebola to COVID. COVID is affecting
every
the
nation.
whole world, every nation.
Ebola
and
was
Ebola was just
region.
affecting the Mano River.
The Mano River Basin. I agree.
And
But the world was coming.
And even after the Ebola, you said you managed the economy.
We must understand the comparison.
You said you managed the economy.
But I think Dixie must give me time to conclude. You have to, don't eat it.
Dixie, please don't usurp my powers. But let me ask this question, Alfred. Let me ask this question. I mean, looking at the way the world is at the moment with COVID, the Russia-Ukraine war, compounding economic crisis for nations, and looking at Sierra Leone's context, we are not exporting. I mean, we are heavily depending on importation. And so we are at the receiving end. And so when the giants fight, at the end of the day, we suffer, we starve. So the other day, an economist was telling me, for any nation that enjoys an economic boom, you should also prepare for an economic bust. And you just mentioned the APC era when Ebola and the drop in iron ore prices. We saw where that led us. I mean, into the implementation of 22 austerity measures aimed at saving, I think, the current expenditure of about 309 billion. That was never announced whether we saved even $1 million. So, putting that, looking at the crisis now, COVID is saying, wait, this only they give Salon chance, we give UK chance, we give America chance. This is not all man. So even the countries away from can help, they self they battle with their own. So how do we handle this?
Yes, the point I was making, I am not in any way comparing the devastating consequences of COVID-19 to that of Ebola.
Quiet.
I am just saying as a government, when planning, especially when you present a manifesto, you need to make provision for unseen circumstances. There's no way I will have to equate Ebola to COVID-19. Ebola was just affecting the Mano River Basin,
right.
Yeah? Whereas COVID-19 is affecting the whole world. So let us know that. I am aware of that fact, Samuel. But the point I am making is that even when we had those two shocks, we are still able to manage the economy. We did control the exchange rates. It did not increase at an alarming rate, as we are today witnessing. We were able to also maintain fuel price as it was. It did not go to the level that we are now seeing. We did manage a lot of other areas. Now, when you talk about austerity measures, this is just cutting down on government expenditure to ensure that the economy is controlled. The APC did not add to actually implement austerity measures. It was just cutting down government expenditure. But for this government, even as we witness crises around the world, they are still not controlling their bloated budgets. They are still not cutting down on their overseas
This government announced.
That is it.
It's also announced that, in fact, it is shifting from recurrent expenditure to capital expenditure. But also mentioned, or in fact announced,
Yes.
that the way that we are expending money, they would not. Which is why now the government said it is implementing. I mean, only essential travels is what they would honor. They would not go out to rent conference hall to hold their program. They should use their office conference rooms to go on with all of those things. Whether that is happening or not,
yes,
it's something for you to say. But those are the concerns, those are the measures announced by this government as a way of saving recurrent expenditure.
Yeah, it is not just a matter of you mentioning certain things. It is about implementation. When you mention them, ensure they are implemented. Now, government is not cutting down on recurrent expenditure. They are not even investing much in capital expenditure. I want to see that. They are still spending huge money on overseas travel. And that is actually very wrong. When you take a look at comparatively what this government is spending on overseas travel, just for, let's say, 4 years, that cannot be compared to even what a whole government spent in about 10 years, just on overseas trips. So if they say that these are recurrent expenditures, they are not capital expenditures. We need to understand that clearly. So if government want to control the economy, they don't just have to announce austerity measures, but they need to implement them to the fullest, like we did. When we say we are going to implement austerity measures, it was not facade. We did it to the best of our ability and to the satisfaction of Sierra Leoneans. That is what we're expecting. If those measures are not implemented, if they are not taken seriously, if the exchange rate is not controlled, if the taxation is actually also not controlled, then the ordinary man will continue to suffer. And this government must take measures now to ensure they address those things.
I would have loved to ask the question about, I mean, what would have been the alternative if you had the opportunity to change things at this point? I mean, being governance.
When we were in government, we had pressures from certain institutions to cut down on subsidies in some areas.
Right.
But realizing the fact that the APC is a welfare government, we believe in the maximization of the welfare of the people, we did not listen to certain things. Because when you are elected as government, you are elected by your people in the first place, and you have the utmost responsibility to ensure that their welfare is maximized. So government must listen to the people and do that which will maximize the welfare of the people. But if they are not listening to the people, because a few are actually not suffering the bonds, a few are actually okay with the situation, even if a bag of rice is sold for $1 million, as per the old currency is still in existence. We are yet to get rid of the old currency, and we cannot control the dollar price.
Until next year, according to the recent measure announced.
That is because we cannot even print enough of the new money, the new currency. That is just too clear. Because if we have enough of the new currency, then the old currency will not have been in existence. Government must take measures, they must do that which will maximize the welfare of the people.
So how are all of these things contributing to the threats our peace is faced with right now?
They are contributing to the threat to peace, because of the very fact that, you know, when people are hungry, we have always mentioned that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Dixon was talking about August 10. I noted that, that some youth were easily taken to the streets, you know, by some misguided individuals, because these people are actually not engaged in either a job or doing certain things that will be beneficiary to them. And that is why I have always maintained that when we want to link it to having a political undertone, it is also very wrong. We have people in this country. The other day I was warning, sending an advice. That was AYV on Sunday before the strike, before the demonstration. I did say it was not timely. If people want to demonstrate, let them come out. Let them do a letter to the police to inform them and take responsibility. Because when demonstration or protest are misguided, people will come in to now wreak havoc.
Okay.
Yeah, that is it.
All right. Let me quickly welcome Fatma Tajala from the Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. Good evening and welcome to AYV on Sunday.
Good evening, Samuel.
All right. Welcome. So we're looking at Sierra Leone's peace. We just joined the rest of the world in celebrating the International Day of Peace last Wednesday, and we want to just put it into context. And you're coming from the body, the permanent infrastructure set to look after our peace and national cohesion. First off, there are concerns that the Commission in itself is problematic. It's not peaceful. Peaceful in the sense the Commission is killing the very law that establishes it. So that's in itself, the Commission is not at peace with itself. So how would you look after our peace as a Commission? So be at war with itself in the sense that there is a law that's established the Commission that speaks about recruitment. But that law, according to many submissions, and even Dixon here, that law has been breached, that the board did not recruit. The recruitments come from State House. Let's first look at that before we go into what the Commission is doing to protect our peace and national cohesion.
Well, I don't know where that is coming from when you say that the Commission is at war with itself. We are not at war. We're a peace commission, and we are at peace. Well, you mentioned about the recruitment. Well, when the Commission was established, it's a new commission.
Right.
After the Act was passed in Parliament, there was need to start somewhere. So that's why, while they were considering appointing the board members, the government thought it fit, to have a skeletal staff to, do the administrative work here to prepare the ground for the setting up of the commission. And I must say, those that were appointed, we are not appointed because of any affiliation. They were appointed because of their qualification, because most of them are experts in the area of peace building and peace promotion over the years. They've worked in several areas, different countries on peace promotion. So basically, that's why they were recruited. And after that, the board was appointed, and we've been working. The board and the management team, we've been working.
Okay. So, so the board was not in force when the recruitments
they were in the process.
Done.
They were in the process
So at that point, it was okay to keep the law aside and let's go on with just so the commission functions well. But let's look at what did the International Day of Peace, what did it bring to Sierra Leone if we are to look at our current state of affairs?
More awareness about the importance of peace in the country, because we have a large population of young people who didn't witness the conflicts in this country. We all know what we went through as a country, the devastation that was caused. Every day you go around, you even see people, the hallmarks of the war, amputees all around, war wounded, etc. So on that day, we had a video that was played, and it created the opportunity for the young guys, because we invited a lot of young people, school kids, youth groups, university students, as well as even youths from the area boys as well. They were all there. So that video was played. And, we had a lot of reactions. Some people were even shedding tears in the hall. That's how, that video went down well with some of the those that were in the hall. So that created the opportunity of awareness that never again, as was said by our former presidents, we do not resort to war, to settle whatever differences we have, that we must come to the table. We must negotiate whatever our problem is.
You know, it's good to have it that way. But I'm sure if you take a look at our current state, our peace is deteriorating. The recent ranking puts us fourth most peaceful in the West African region, and we were third, which means we're second. Exactly. We're going, I mean, in a direction we do not want the nation to go. But also, many have submitted that some of the factors responsible for the current state of our negative peace is politics, the economy, our attitude, and all of this. So the crucial factor at this point is politics and the politicians. We've seen a lot of political rhetorics, be it tribal, regional, from both sides. So how are you handling that? How are you engaging these political players? We have few months to the general elections in 2023. What are the plans to address some of these concerns that appear to be fear, to the threats we're confronted with?
Samuel, it's all about engagement. Since the commission started working less than a year ago, we've been engaging different groups. And recently, we also engaged with political parties. We brought together all the 17 political parties, their representatives together, and they were able to speak their mind about some of the problems happening in the country and the reasons. And they made a number of recommendations to us, and we're going to be working on those recommendations, and then we'll take the appropriate measures after working on those, because part of our mandate is advisory to government. So whatever we'll derive from those meetings, we'll pass on to the appropriate authorities.
Can the commission be trusted in the sense that we know in Sierra Leone, almost every institution is being, the myth, every institution is being politically influenced. You go back to the days of the APC, that has always been the cry, that has always been the claim by Sierra Leoneans. And that is also happening right now, according to many Sierra Leoneans. So can the Peace Commission be trusted to consolidate, to keep and protect our peace when perhaps the opposition will be looking? We all know what's in the happen. People. How do you build that trust?
We want to assure the people that we will remain independent. As our name says, Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. That's why we've been engaging all stakeholders. We are not limiting our engagements to a certain group or certain political party. We've been engaging all of them. And that is a way to build trust. Because if we are seen to be going one side, then they will say you are not independent. So that's our plan, and that's what we will continue to do, engaging the different stakeholders.
There's a cliche that prevention is better than cure. And looking at the present state, the economy is not performing for every Sierra Leonean. Many Sierra Leoneans go to bed hungry. They say na Creole, person we angry get to a mat, and an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So how do we get government to play its role in fulfilling some of its socio-economic obligations to Sierra Leoneans, to at least ease the tension that I'm hungry, I'm disgruntled, and I can be easily exploited by anyone, especially politicians. So what's the approach to government for the government itself to uphold its own obligation to help the citizens, remove us out of that monumental abject poverty we are in as a nation?
Well, I think I'm not here to speak on behalf of the government. as we
I'm
mentioned.
just asking out what the commission is doing to get government accountable, because these are some of the threats to the peace. And if you are to protect the peace, you also have the responsibility to look at these threats and see how they can be handled.
Okay, well, we have a department that is called Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning. And that department has been engaging in doing some research, investigating some of the issues that are happening in the country.
Right.
And once we get that, it's not only going to be done in the Western area, it's right across the country. Once we get that, we'll look at it and make recommendations, because as I said, one part of our mandate is advisory to government. So whatever we get from those investigations about the issues affecting the country, because people are saying, things are hard, but we need to go right down to the bottom to investigate the causes. And once we get them, then we'll make the recommendations to the appropriate authorities.
What is the commission planning to do, in the build-up to the 2023 elections too? For us to continue this path we've taken in terms of peace.
Well, we have our elections preparedness plan, a program we plan to start implementing very soon. But we're going to be focused more on peace education. And we've already started, just recently we went to Potoloko, Cambia, Moyamba, and Bo. We are taking the message of peace to the people right down at the community level, and we plan to continue with that. That aside, we are planning to do also what we call fragility studies. We want to identify possible hotspots in the country where there are tendencies for violence to erupt. So we're going to conduct that studies, and that will inform us on what the next steps are and what we should do. We also plan to with the different community stakeholders. They will identify their own people, want to work with the local authorities as well, to select the people for us. Once that is done, then we'll give them the necessary capacity in terms of training and other resources. For them, they will be on the ground so that they will be monitoring the peace in their locality. So in case there is any problem, they will be in the position
to respond.
To respond. Whilst we're here, we will not be able to go there on time. So, but they will be in the position to respond, and from that they can get back to us, and then we will follow up on what to do next.
Okay. Let me run through some messages just quickly. I still have Thomas Dixon and Alfred Mikaelu Kuruma in the studio. Journalist Lawrence Williams is saying, Samuel, Sierra Leone was never rated as the fastest growing economy in the world. An IMF review in 2013 did a forecast that if the economy continues to grow at the level it was at the time, Sierra Leone would be among the fastest growing economies. The EBK-led administration twisted the facts and used the same on propaganda basis. Okay, that from Lawrence Williams, a journalist there, saying, Eddie Grant is saying there is no way peace can be built on lawlessness. It's a mission impossible. All right. Yasin is saying, after SLPP, now APC for the past years. So this is the reason they're going to register. Please come and register and make that change. Amara Alpha is saying, for some of us who have experienced the dark days in the history of this country, we would not be allowed we would not allow selfish politicians for their selfish games during and after the 2023 general elections, and the law would not allow anyone who may want to take this country into the dark days again. Irrespective of what, this government has achieved more in terms of development, we think, these years than any other government in the history of Sierra Leone politics. Mark you, the current president was the father of democracy, and he fought for it and will not allow anyone to undermine democracy in this country. Okay? Abdul Ekabo is saying that's exactly what we are experiencing under this administration. Okay, that's too harsh. Please just speak to the issues I will read, but when you attack people, and I will not go through those messages. Eddie Grant is saying, I challenge you, sir. Banff is not a breeding ground for lawlessness. Maybe you went to another place. Interesting. Eddie Grant, are you coming from Banff? Abubakar Rashid is saying, peace is not the absence of violence, but equality, justice, and freedom of association. But in our situation, I think that is far-fetched, and it is a situation this nation has to take into serious consideration. Lloyd Banks is saying, I will disagree with you. It's not only the president that is responsible for the stability of a country. It is the responsibility of every individual to maintain peace and stability in the country, especially the opposition. More so in a country like Sierra Leone, where opposition politicians are not, okay, I'm not going to go through that. I'll leave it. I would not want us to just use words that degrade people, please, yeah? Matthew Smart is saying, what we have in Sierra Leone currently is not conflict but tension that is created by both APC and SLPP. The one thinks they are smart, and the other, they have the support, but the fact is this Sierra Leone, we must respect the constitution. Okay. Interesting. At most, I'm going to take 5 more messages. We have so many. Yoki Musa is saying, for me, these two parties, SLPP and APC, we the people need to stop voting for them because they are a cause. They are the cause of violence in this country. Okay. Interesting. The statement of both, okay, I'm going to leave that. The leaders are responsible for peace and development in Sierra Leone. No development would take place in Sierra Leone, not even the peace. So we, the youth, should stand firm to own the future. Sisi Ibrahim is saying that. Alpheus Sisi is saying, even when it's very evident that J.S. Momoh is the architect of the 1991 constitution, which introduced multi-party democracy in Sierra Leone, the good boys will say it's a okay. I want our messages to be along peace. Minkailu, were you not in Sierra Leone when Ledabut and others were doing same thing? Like Agata and the SLPP foot soldiers are doing now? Giovanni is saying, is asking that. Alhaji Ibrahim Sori Kamara is saying, Samuel, if you don't play the video of the APC, okay. Well, so if I don't play it, I guess you will take me off the show as my producer. That's very interesting. Was Eliad Wazaki saying the issue of tribalism is in the high increase in our country because we have seen majority of the youth on social media preaching violence, tribalism, and all other stuff that can divide our country. My question to you, Minkailu, is, has APC ever got a mandate chairman of, okay, I think Minkailu mentioned that he would love to see that. So many messages this evening. Let me take 2 more. If we want everlasting peace, let us look at where all went wrong. Take few people to jail and leave some out because of some reasons of politics and tribal affiliation. It's not going to help us getting total peace in our country. Okama Don, the final message I'll take is from Mohammed Toure. Peace is not what we need in the country. What we need in the country most at this very moment is freedom, equal rights, and justice. This government is not giving freedom, equal rights, and justice to its citizens. That's why the country is facing so much difficulties. Interesting that we do not need peace at this moment. But Dixie, let me ask you: if you are to create a reformatory way forward to things happening in Sierra Leone, how do we consolidate our democracy, our peace? How do we maintain national cohesion with the current state of affairs, with the way things are in Sierra Leone? What path should we take?
First of all, I think we have to allow our institution to work independently. When I'm talking about state institution, I'm talking about the judiciary. We've seen a situation, Alfred mentioned the 10 APC parliamentarians that were removed from the house by the court. And they appealed. Up till now, their appeal have not been heard. I think that is not justice. Institutions should be seen working. They should not be seen supporting the state. And we also have to see a period of dialogue, engaging all sectors in the society. we should not discriminate in our engagement, particularly when it has to do with serious issues like economic issue, like youth unemployment. I think during the days of President Nkrumah, we had the Open Government Initiative, wherein they will conduct community sessions in which the president will attend. And I think we need to come back with some of these things. Wherein the president will go and explain some of the difficulties. I saw the president after the August 10 incident went to look in town after the disaster.
Yes.
And he was appreciated by the people because it gave confidence to the people that, look, this is what is going on. So we should be seeing some of these engagements and not just to say, who should we engage with? Who should we engage? We should not be asking who should we. Engagement should be part of the process. Dialogue should be part of any democracy. I think former President Kaba used to say, jaw is better than war. We have to be talking. When we talk, we decrease tension. But if we don't talk to people, we increase the tension. Again, we have to find a way of making the economy better going forward. We have to find a way of ensuring that Sierra Leone is investment friendly. Government alone, it is true, cannot employ everyone. But wherein you have a better economy, wherein you have a peaceful atmosphere, you'll be able to encourage investment. And these investors in turn will be able to employ your young people. Again, we have to make them employable. We have to give them the right skills, modern skills. We have to recalibrate some of our courses in the university to fit into the modern market, to make our young people very, very competitive. And for me, I think political parties and political players should commit themselves to peace messages. In any forum, they should be speaking peace.
How can that?
I think it's part of the TRC recommendation.
Yeah, so when you talk about that commitment, my fear is, at some point I was having a conversation with Umar Fofana, and he was telling me about, when he was covering the war, Fode Sanko would come out in the open and tell his boys, guys, ceasefire. But then he would go again and tell them, now go fire. So it appears that's the strategy our politicians are. They'll come in the open, they'll denounce violence, violence is not part of us, we do not want to see violence, but the violence continues. So how is that happening?
As I said, it seems as if, well, it's not violence has been part of our culture, political culture. Even the TRC identified it. Even for people to become flag bearers of their political party, they will begin to germinate political talks to support them, intimidate other people. So even within the political parties, we are not developing a democratic and peaceful atmosphere. And one can't give what you don't have. You will only give what you have. Right. If you came to the position as flag bearer of your party through violence, obviously, when you are elected president, you are not going to enhance peace. You are going to rule by division. And we've been seeing some of these things. People who came to as flag bearers through default of constitution, we saw how they ended. People who came as flag bearers through thuggery, we saw how things are unfolding. It will be disingenuous for us to say that these political parties are not breeding vigilantism. They are breeding vigilantes, they are breeding thugs. If you go to political parties, both APC and SLPP, it seems as if go at the back of these offices. They are not supposed to be residents. They are residents for people. And who are these people? Who are these people in the party offices? So I think the political party must have an introspective look. They must have an introspect look into themselves, look at themselves, try to be peaceful, make your part. It will come a time with social media, with education, it will come a time in this country that Sierra Leonean will be voting for the party that is most democratic and most peaceful. The time will come.
And is that a dream like that Isaj had in 2007?
We are getting there. We are getting there. We are getting there.
Alfred, being a politician and with all of this crisis that we are fraught with as a nation, what path should we take? How do we then lay the tracks?
Yes, that would be my concluding remark. But quickly, I know.
Go ahead.
Before going to that, I did listen to the madam representing the Peace Commission and some of the text messages that I may want to respond to.
Quickly.
But it begs the question first, we have to control our exchange rates. Guinea, it is about 850 as per the $100. Sierra Leone, as per the old currency, is about 1,700,000. You know, that is the black marketing. We need to address that as soon as possible. It is eating us up. Now, madam was saying, most of the youth we are not born during the war. I agree with her, 100%. And as such, they are not aware of the devastating consequences of the decade civil incursion. We need to be raising more awareness for people to know that Sierra Leone must not venture to go into any sort of war or kind of war again in this country, because it will have far-reaching, impacts on us as a people and as a country. So the awareness must be there all of the time. On the day, International Day of Peace, she said they raised awareness. But I also want to believe that may have been on a very low scale. Maybe they are challenged economically, the funding. Because if you want to undertake a large-scale project, you want all of the regions and the district to be involved, it has also got some financial implication. I think the Peace Commission is very important for some of us that witnessed the war, and we are aware of the devastating consequences of the war, and we are also aware of the stages of conflict in this country. We must have to pay attention to the Peace Commission to be doing a very great job. Otherwise, some of us are actually afraid. We are enjoying a negative peace. That has to be noted very seriously. Engagement with political parties is fine, but they also have to go beyond political parties. Some political parties, when you engage them, they will tell you what they want you to hear. They will not be bold enough to tell you, the problems, the real problems. So you have to go beyond political parties. The commission is independent. That is why it is called Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion.
As its name implies.
So I have known Awasama, is that the name?
Yes.
For a very long time. We have interacted in the civil society world, in the advocacy world. No, she's somebody I have respect for. I do not want to know if she was appointed by the SLPP government or President Bio. As far as I have rated her, and she's a Sierra Leonean, I believe she can deliver if empowered. That is why they have to live, above reproach. They must ensure that they are not being muscled, they are not being dictated to. Let them be independent, but they have to do more work. They have to do more work. Monitoring and investigation department they have. They shall make recommendations, but that has to be very soon. The voter registration is going on. It is all part of the electoral process. Election is not only on polling day. In the drawing up of electoral laws, voter registration, we have a lot of other components of the election process. So they need to start monitoring now, start making recommendations now. For some, as a commission that is independent, when they make recommendations, they'll be able to nip certain occurrences on the board before they graduate into some things that we may not want to see. It is good to have to train peace monitors to be actually reporting to them. It is good for election preparedness, but the time is now. Those that are responsible to fund them, they need to be funded now. It is very important component of the electoral process. If the funds are available now, let them go into action. They don't have to delay. I have traversed the country. I know what I am talking about.
Does the APC trust in the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion?
As far as I know, I expect institutions of state to live beyond reproach, to be above the political dictates of politicians. They are Sierra Leoneans. They took oath to serve in those offices. They have to put country above petty sentiment. Some people may not trust them, but that is my view as a Sierra Leonean. I want them to do their work independently and to ensure they earn the trust of the people.
And that does not speak to whether or not you trust them.
Of course. Trust is earned.
Go ahead.
It's not given.
The question about what path should we take now?
Yes, I'll come there. But then there is an interesting person. Individual has sent a text message. Sierra Leone was never rated as one of the fastest growing economy. APC, created that myth, and APC, was the one propagating it. I want this writer, this texter, to know that when I sit to talk, I don't just talk. Even if I sit here, people who send me text messages, I don't do what they tell me to do. I have to conduct a study to ascertain the fact.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to remind this person that in 2013, on April 30th, the World Bank communicated this. Sierra Leone tops China in fastest growing economies in the world. This is coming from the World Bank. The World Bank's analysis of Africa's economies, which is published in Africa's Plus, has placed Sierra Leone on top of China as one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So I don't just sit to talk. The person can conduct a study now to ascertain this fact. When I sit to talk, I make sure I present facts.
Is that a news article or a communique from World Bank?
Yeah, this is a communique from World Bank.
Well, the World Bank used to have the African policies.
Of course.
It's a quarterly report on
Yeah.
African nations.
So it is there, it is dated.
I think what my colleague was
April
trying to
30th,
communicate,
2013.
Alfred,
Yes.
is that yes, indeed we are ranked as the fastest growing economy, but that did not translate into the pockets and purses of people.
No, but that done. No, he was saying it's a fallacy altogether.
You made it clear. Let me get your closing
when I sit to talk, I don't just sit, I talk facts. Now again, let us
What
note
part should we take quickly?
Bond. Now, somebody was saying Bond is peaceful.
You have 2 minutes, Alfred.
Yeah, I know. I went to Bond, and this is the picture at the police station. Samuel and every other viewer, I went there, so I don't just sit to talk. I am not saying Bond is violence. I was just reporting that 2 of our party agents that we are actually accredited to be at the centers were malhandled, beaten mercilessly by soldier team, and they were taken to police station. I was given a report. I was not stating Bond is violent. Let us know that. Father of democracy. I agree with the person that stated if we want to rate people as fathers of democracy, we can consider J.S. Momoh. We are still using the 1991 Constitution, Act number 6 of 1991. The signature of J.S. Momoh is that. But I also have great respect for Tijan Kaba of blessed memory. These are Democrats that must be respected. EBK must not be an exclusion.
Okay.
You know, Leather Boots was not all over the place misbehaving like the soldier team or Arata is doing now. That needs to be noted, yeah? APC mandate chairman. We've had chairmen in the APC that are other tribe. Yambasu, Anaka, chairman and secretary in 2005 that took the party to convention. These are from the East. Both of them are from Konof. They are not Temnes or Limbas. We have seen Victor Fu as Secretary General of the APC.
Okay.
And I wish I have stated it. Let there be a time when the APC will elect a Mende as a chairman or a flag bearer of our party.
Let me have
now to close.
I'll come back to you if I have the time.
Thank you.
You've eaten a lot. Let me hear from you. I mean, what's the way forward with the submissions that have been made?
Well, I want to say that our engagements are not just limited to political parties. We've been engaging various stakeholders. Recently, we even met with the religious leaders, the Muslims and Christians, the bike riders, the motor drivers, union boat owners, even the market women. We've been engaging with them. And a mention about our elections preparedness program. We have the pre-elections and post. As I speak, we've been working with youth groups. We have monitors deployed all over the country to monitor the registration process and then revert to us. And that is what we're going to be continuing, working with various stakeholders, continue our engagement, peace education, going down to the community, taking the message to the people.
Okay, so I'll give each of you a minute, to just give your parting shots. I'll start with you. So even the U.S. ambassador, for example, has noticed that there is this deep political polarization, and so he has called for engagement with politicians. So how is that going to pan out from the Independent Commission wing?
We've already started.
Okay.
As I said, we started with the politicians. We had a meeting with them, and we're going to continue that engagement. Because as I said, they made some recommendations, which we are following up on, and we're going to continue with that.
Okay.
But it's not just limited to the politicians, as you mentioned. We have to, involve other stakeholders. That's why we've been meeting as well with the empowerment chiefs as well, local authorities as well, so, because they are in control of the vast majority of the people in the regions.
Thomas?
Until we tackle the causes of the 11-year war, we are very, very close to another conflict. The causes of the 11-year war are still rife. We have a very, very divisive politics. We have a judiciary that is not too independent. We have massive youth unemployment. Corruption is still thriving. So we have to do more.
Okay. Alfred?
Yeah, the causes of poverty, economic repression, and political instability are visible. Yeah, they are evident. As political parties and as a government, it is our responsibility to address them and to curb them. You know, the peace of this country is in our hands. We must not rely on tribalism or regionalism to score political goals. Let us talk the real issues so that we can rally support and people will vote us. Well, let me end with the statement of St. Augustine. Lord, let there be peace and let it begin with me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I see my our colleague Lawrence wants to defend his submission, but that's for another day, because that is not really what we're discussing, because I would have really loved to ask Alfred about the report, but because I know, I mean, that report literally deals with the ease of doing business and it does not rate economies. But we'll definitely bring. So Lawrence will find time for you to come and challenge Alfred. Yeah. But this is where we end tonight's program. Many thanks to Fatma Jallo from the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion, journalist Thomas Dixon, APC politician Alfred Michael Kuruma. Thank you very much, and many thanks to all of you. And we do apologize for the conspicuous absence of Wusu Dadida Jallo from the Strategic Communications Unit of the Ministry of Information and Communications, who could be here, did not communicate now that he is not going to come, but did not show up. We apologize for that honorable behavior. This is where we end tonight's program. Many thanks to all of you, our viewers, our listeners, and our followers. If you missed a part of this, remember to watch a repeat of it on Thursday, 10 p.m., same station, but a fresh edition comes up next week, same time, same station, here on your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. The show has been AYV on Sunday. My name is Samuel Wise Bangura, and up next is our AYV Primetime News. Take care of yourself.